California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law that makes California the first state to ban school districts from requiring that parents be notified if their child wants to identify as a different gender at school. Now, following this assault on parental rights, the Chino Valley Unified School District has sued Governor Newsom, saying this law violates the rights of parents as well as the U.S. Constitution. Joining me now to discuss this and more is the president of the school board for Chino Valley, Sonja Shaw. Sonja, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
It's good to see you, Tony. Thank you for having me on.
So let's start back. This was a policy that your school district worked to put into place. In fact, other school districts have done the same since you all led the way. In May, the Assembly there passed a law. It was signed into law on Monday. So let's talk about what this bill would do in terms of information that goes to parents.
Absolutely. So, yeah, you mentioned AB 1955 came about because of districts like ours who passed a policy that would inform parents if their child were to want to change their sex at school and make an official or unofficial record change. Now, with that said, we were still in court. We still have a legal battle going on when Bonta, with the support of the state superintendent, Tony Thurman, and other organizations and special interest groups like the unions, decided to sue us for that policy. They called our policy an illegal policy, all to turn around and gut and amend AB 1955, push it through in the month of June. And obviously Newsom signed it during a time when our country should be uniting and mourning the loss of, people who have lost their family members and the attempted assassination on President Trump. He signed it during that time on purpose so he can kind of slide it under the radar. But we were watching, we were waiting, and within a day, thank God, Liberty Justice came to help us. God always provides, and we filed suit back on Newsom, Bonta, and Thurman.
Sonja, that is a little fast for a piece of legislation to make its way through.
I'm so sorry. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Well, I thought you were going to say I spoke too fast, but there's so much information going on.
No.
Right.
I was just. I mean, I've been in the legislative process, and for a measure to move through that fast tells me that this was intentional, and there is strong special interest behind it.
Well, Tony, what we did back in March is, because we had a preliminary injunction on us to not push our policy forward, I still, went to God, asked what safeguards can we put in place. We developed another policy that was enabled us to tell parents of everything and anything. And I don't think that they liked that. So they went ahead and pushed this through because we were going to share that policy with other districts because it's not just about Chino Valley. This is about all kids that we're trying to make sure that are safe. And with that said, they decided to push through AB 1955, right? And open that up. And like you just said, they broke every rule. I sat there and watched every hearing. Everything was pushed by. The rules didn't matter when they pushed that through in the month of June. I mean, think about it. They got an amended bill. And for normal folk like me, that's a big thing to just do it and do it within 4 weeks. By the end of the month of June, it was already on Newsom's desk waiting. And he had 20 business days or so many business days. I can't remember how many it was. And of course, he decides to sign it during this time. But it was definitely intentional. They knew that we were not going to give up, and they were going to lose the battle in court eventually. But that's why we watch. We keep an eye on it. We're still passionate about making sure kids are safe, and our legal, team was ready. We had parents already. I have so many parents right now. Where can we sign up? How can we help? And I think it's important to know the majority is on our side when it comes to this, Tony. People want to make sure kids are safe.
Well, and we've had you on the program before, back when that measure was first introduced, to tell your story of how you got involved as a parent, ran for the school board, got a Pastor Jack Hibbs, a close friend of mine, my battle buddy, who you attend his church. This is what it means to get involved, to be salt and light. Now, this policy will go into effect in January of this coming year. So you've got a little bit of time to stop it by challenging it in court. What are your attorneys telling you, kind of the timeline that you're looking at?
I mean, obviously, we're at the mercy of the court system, but we also know God opens up the doors and He provides when it's needed. So, I mean, I'm praying that everybody is. We have a great team, so I'm praying that we get a preliminary injunction eventually, very soon, and we're able to stop it at least temporarily while it goes through the court system, because we all know the process of going through the court system isn't going to be a gut and amend process how it was prior to them passing AB 1955. But with that said, I just think it's important that we continue to put safeguards in place in the meantime. I am open to sharing our current policy with any board member, any parent, and like what I learned from you, Tony, we need to pray, stand, and vote, and get people in these local positions that will push back on this and make sure kids are safe.
Well, Sonja, I love the stand spirit that you have. We're not going to give up. We'll find another way to protect our children. I want you to respond to a spokesman from Governor Newsom that said this new law that they just signed into law on Monday, quote, and I'm quoting, preserves the child-parent relationship, end quote. Your response?
Gaslighting and lies, they continue from Newsom. He has continued to reveal his just evil agenda. And how in the world is keeping a secret from a parent allowing a child and parent relationship? What you're doing is you're severing that by telling the child, you're safe with me and you're not safe with your parent. We're safe over your parent knowing something. And that is horrific to even see him say that. But I'm almost so glad that they keep putting their foot in the mouth, because through all these things that they say and do, more people are able to pray and fight alongside us. Because if they didn't, it's hard to tell the story. There's so much daily involvement in what they're doing and what they're doing to districts like ours for taking the stand. But to Newsom, I just think he needs to stop his gaslighting. We see right through it. To say that you can't tell the parent and turn around and say that actually helps a parent-child relationship, that's bizarre. I mean, common sense would say that does not make sense at all, right?
Well, I think common sense left California government a long time ago. Elon Musk announcing yesterday that both SpaceX and the social media platform X would be moving their California headquarters to Texas, partially in response to this law. Is this the straw that is going to break the camel's back when it comes to people that are saying enough is enough?
Tony, Elon said it himself. That was the straw, right? But we also know it's not just his business that has left or plans on leaving, and it's not just the families that have left and plan on leaving. I think it's going to leave a definite bruise on California, because, you know, it is a sad story when you find a big business that supplies so many jobs to these families who are trying to just put food on the table right now. And now those things are ripped away, which I don't blame him. I do not fault Elon Musk. At any point, I think what he's doing is very smart. But at the same token, there's many of us, whether it's near or far, fighting the good fight for California, because we know that, you know, God is keeping a lot of us here,
Right.
even though, you know, a lot of us can flee to protect the children. And in the meantime, kids are being hurt. And I think that's what we need to remember. While some might have the blessing of leaving, there's others that don't. And in the meantime, again, kids are being hurt. And we need to realize that we have a moral obligation and responsibility to fight for those children and those families.
Well, and we are grateful, Sonja Shaw, for that fight that you're waging, and we want to pray for that growing remnant in California that's willing to stand. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll continue to track this.